Reports are surfacing that the Kansas City Chiefs have signed running back Dameon Pierce to their practice squad, formerly of the Houston Texans, and there are kind of both sides to this argument. There are people who are saying that this is going to be the thing that puts the Kansas City Chiefs over the hump. There are people who are saying that this is an absolutely nothing move, as evidenced by the fact that the Texans cut him, as evidenced by the fact that he cleared waivers, all of these things. Pardon me. I'm somewhere in the middle, and I'm going to tell you why, but I do think that this is a positive move, and I think that the upside largely outweighs the downside. The downside is nothing. You have added a running back to the practice squad. The biggest downside, perhaps, to this move is the fact that if it doesn't pan out, there are people who are going to be holding the bag of fandom, right? So, we're going to get into all of the numbers behind this and why I think that this is the neutral ground, is the proper standing place for this move. But I do think that the upside here is very high. So this is his RAS score, a 7.3 overall. I've got my wrong pin selected here. 7.3 overall RAS. Where does that come from? Well, he's a little bit short, but I'm actually a fan of that with running backs because it appears that the shorter running backs have better leverage unless you are just an absolute hulking individual. Also, 218 pounds. That is a good size for a running back. There are a few that throw this out of whack. That's why you get the 7.48 score out of 10 for that. 21 bench press reps, decent number, tells you that he does stay in the weight room. Not the most explosive guy when you're looking at these numbers. A 34.5-inch vertical leap, a 9'11" broad jump. Certainly serviceable numbers. You can see this down here. We will get to that in a moment. You can see a little bit of the Chiefs logo there because there is a very direct correlation for Dameon Pierce on the Kansas City Chiefs right now. Probably looking at this 40 score, you can decipher what it is that I am saying there, who we're going to be talking about in a moment, but a 4.59 40-yard dash scores 5.71 out of 10. Not the greatest 40-yard dash. Look, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you don't really need him running 40 yards. If he can create 5 yards in a pile of dust, then you're fine. You are absolutely fine. You have the threat of a running back. And so one thing that I do want to jump off the top here, this signing, I think, might call into question the health of Isaiah Pacheco, whether or not this injury is going to be longer term than we had previously expected. But I don't think it has to, because Brett Veach is going to have a little bit of an eye on the future as well. But also you have a largely ineffective running game. You had Kareem Hunt pop off for 30 carries yesterday, which is a good number, but not the most. I think he averaged 3.6 yards during that game, if I'm not mistaken, which was enough, right? It was enough to keep the defense honest, but it was certainly not anything particularly explosive. And we're going to get into some correlations there with Dameon Pierce as well. 2.68 20-yard split. Again, nothing phenomenal there. A bit better on the 10-yard split of 1.58. Who does this remind you of? Probably Kareem Hunt. You have 5'10", 216 compared to 5'9", 218, 21 bench reps. Kareem Hunt did 18 somehow. Kareem Hunt, by the way, the reason that you're looking at Kareem Hunt with I have done at times in my life, not right now, more than 18 reps with 225 pounds. Probably not as strictly regulated as these combine reps were, but Kareem Hunt is a thigh monster. Pause. He is a lower body monster. Pause. Okay, I've got to think of how to say this before the words come out of my mouth. Kareem Hunt is bottom heavy. That's a little bit better. But like your classic running backs in the NFL, you go back to the 80s, those guys were all on the squat rack all day long, right? That's where Kareem Hunt comes from. and that's why you see him with a little bit of a shaky upper body strength, but still able to power through. Plus, he's not built for endurance, right? Very rounded out muscles, very explosive athlete, even though his explosive numbers don't get there either. You see a 36.5-inch vert for Kareem Hunt, a 9'11" broad jump, the exact same broad jump here with Dameon Pierce, and 2 inches better on the vert. A 4.62 40-yard dash compared to 4.59 for Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce's 2.68 20-yard split compared to 2.67 for Kareem Hunt. 1.59 10-yard split for Kareem. 1.58 for Dameon Pierce here. And then Kareem actually did the agility scores. The agility tests probably should not have. Kareem Hunt might have gone higher in the draft had he opted out of those agility drills, because you see here a 1.1 out of 10. That is so bad of a score that my red marker does not show up on that box. Now, this is an overview from NFL.com for Dameon Pierce as he was coming out in the draft. What did they think about him? Well, it's, quote, "It's a fun afternoon of tape study watching Pierce play a game like a coiled spring ready to explode on each snap." I'm going to stop it there real quick because that is part of the problem with Dameon Pierce as well. If the spring is coiled, it has to be unleashed. If it is not unleashed, there is no springiness to the spring. So sometimes Dameon Pierce is a boom or bust runner. He's an urgent runner with twitchy downfield burst, tackle-breaking leg drive, and outstanding balance through contact. Who does this entire sentence sound like? That is Kareem Hunt. You could just copy and paste this to a Kareem Hunt scouting report. He reads and reacts to block development quickly and creates additional yardage with both power and subtle shiftiness. Again, that's just like Kareem Hunt, but again, this is something that we do not see from Isaiah Pacheco. Reads and reacts to block development. That is the biggest criticism for Isaiah Pacheco in the NFL. And really, it's one of the biggest criticisms for Isaiah Pacheco if you go all the way back to the college tape. Isaiah Pacheco was not particularly productive in college. He had some breakout moments and things, but if you're looking at a guy to say, okay, well, this is one who will work in the NFL, he, in my opinion, never really put that on tape in college. Pierce was highly effective, 16 total touchdowns in 2021, despite an embarrassingly low usage rate by the coaching staff. Something that happened in Houston as well, which we'll get to in a moment. He has plenty of tread left on the tires and fits into any run-blocking scheme as a quality future starter or member of a running back tandem. That is definitely coming back in the future of this video. Now, you may be asking yourself, how is it that the Kansas City Chiefs have signed Dameon Pierce? And again, I have not seen confirmation from the Kansas City Chiefs on this move, but I have seen it reported enough places that I do now feel comfortable talking about it. Why the Texans waived Dameon Pierce in surprise cut that completes unexpected fall from Yahoo Sports? Dameon Pierce looked like a future star. The rookie Pierce in 2022 ran for 939 yards. Is that the exact number that Isaiah Pacheco ran for in his rookie year? I can't remember. It was something close to that. 4.3 yards per carry and had another 30 catches for 165 yards. His downfall was swift, and on Thursday, the Houston Texans waived him, according to the NFL Network's Ian Rappaport. If you had told anyone 3 years ago that Pierce wouldn't even make it to the end of his rookie deal with the Texans, it would have been hard to believe. But that's exactly what happened. Why did the Texans waive Dameon Pierce? The very direct reason was to clear space on the 53-man roster for cornerback Johnny Carter. But it's really been a total downfall to being not useful at all for the Texans. Pierce went from 939 yards rushing as a rookie to 416, then 293, then only 26 this year. And it's even worse than that. We'll get to that in a moment. He had at least remained a useful return man, but the Texans haven't even used him like that in recent weeks. Even with Joe Mixon out all year, Pierce has been a scratch more often than not. Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, and Dare Ogunbowale have all been ahead of him on the depth chart. So what has he done in the NFL? Well, this is his stat sheet. As a rookie, 220 carries, 939 yards, 4 touchdowns, 54 first downs. That is a good number there. You're talking about basically 25% of the time he touches the football, he's getting you a first down. You see that 939 yards, that included a 75-yard long run. He did have 39 targets, 30 receptions, 165 receiving yards, and a touchdown as a rookie. Here's the thing I'll say about him. As a receiver, it appears to me that he is very good at catching the running back route tree. The classic, the standard running back route tree. I don't think he's going to be Jerick McKinnon out of the backfield, but he does look a lot like Kareem Hunt catching the football as well. Did not have quite the success that had Kareem Hunt in his early tenure with the Kansas City Chiefs receiving the football, but still was able to make a mark on the field. Now, in that, I'll talk about that in a minute. 2023, that downfall, 145 carries, 416 yards, 2 touchdowns, all the way down to 14 first downs. That is a troubling thing. You also have a 4.3-yard average as a rookie, fall all the way to 2.9 in his sophomore campaign in the NFL. 2024, things got even worse, just as the article had alluded. You have 293 yards, but here's the kicker. That 293 yards came on 40 carries, giving him a 7.3 average per carry. That's a good carry, or that's a good average there, as I ruin everything. So, again, falling even further with receptions as well, and 40 carries, 7 first downs, not a bad number there. Then you see 2025. 10 attempts, 26 yards, 1 first down, a 2.6 yard per carry average. What's going on here? Well, if you dig a little bit deeper into these numbers, in 2022, these 939 rushing yards, 270 of them came in 2 games. One was against the Chargers, one was against the Eagles. I believe those were the teams. So those 2 games accounted for over 25% of his total, despite the fact that he played in 13 games. In 2023, he was inactive for 3 games. Pardon me, I forgot about this. In 2022, he did not play the last 4 games of the season. I dug around a little bit. I couldn't figure out if that was for injury or if he was just not on the field. 2023, he was inactive for 3 games, did not dress for 3 games. In 2024, he was inactive for 6 games, and then 176 of these 293 yards, 176 of them, over half of them, came against the Tennessee Titans in 1 game. And you had a 92-yard long, which is where this 7.3 yards per carry comes from. And then in 2025, so the kicker is that he had just 26 rushing yards, right? Well, no, that's not the kicker. The kicker is he played 23 snaps of offense. So something is amiss with Dameon Pierce, or at least it was during his time in Houston. Here's the thing. Sometimes all it takes is a come-to-Jesus moment, right? This guy has played football his entire life, I'm sure. This guy is someone to whom football means very much, to whom football means a paycheck, and still on a rookie deal. So that paycheck is in doubt. especially for a position like running back. And you see he's 25 this year, so he's going to be heading to 26. 26 is pretty much make or break for a running back in the NFL. And he's at that point. So it could be that if it's taking care of his body that he's not doing, if it's learning the playbook that he's not doing, if it's just general not being attentive in practice that he's not doing, these are all things that can get you on the outs with a coaching staff, and especially at running back, where you can pick someone in the 7th round that has twice the career so far that has Dameon Pierce, not with the highlights that Dameon Pierce has had, talking about Isaiah Pacheco. Take him in the 7th round, and you've got a guy that you can run out onto the field and not be embarrassed. That's what running back is in the NFL today. So if he needs that, the coaching staff in Houston just said, we're done, right? We've all seen players to whom this happens, right? The coaching staff, Kadarius Toney, all the talent in the world. Kadarius Toney moved like an alley cat, was that agile, that quick, that fast, that dangerous. But at some point, it's just not worth it. Dameon Pierce may have run his course in Houston. If this puts him, getting cut, puts him back on course, that could be all it takes for him to return to 2022 Dameon Pierce for the Kansas City Chiefs. As far as my own analysis is concerned, here's the thing. Running backs are very difficult to judge. Just like I was talking about with the fact that they're kind of a dime a dozen in the NFL, sometimes guys just have great games. I'm never going to remember his name. There was a running back for the Browns who was kind of a decent running back for a few years. All of a sudden, he popped off for an NFL record 303-yard rushing day, and you never heard from him again. You just never heard from him again. That's what happens in the NFL with running backs. These guys, so I made fun of his RAS score earlier. Okay? How many guys do you pass on the street that are 5'9", 220? Not a lot. How many guys do you pass on the street that can do 21 bench press reps with 225 pounds? Not a lot. How many guys on the street do you pass that can run a 4.59 40? Not a lot. And these are all sub-average numbers in the NFL. So these are freaks. These are absolute physical specimens of people. And it's very tough to judge them in the NFL. Just for whatever reason, the running back position is full of those guys, and it's never differentiated. That's the I don't need to get into this too much because that's not the subject of this video, but like wide receiver has become so differentiated in the NFL. If Kadarius Toney had his head screwed on straight, he could have been a multi-year Pro Bowler. Very different skill set than Tyreek Hill, who is also a speed demon. Very different skill set from Randy Moss, one of the fastest wide receivers you'll ever see, right? Wide receivers become greatly differentiated. Running back is just a slab of human being that is very, very dangerous, right? But in the NFL context, it's difficult for those guys to separate themselves. When you look at his game, when you start dissecting what it is that he's going to potentially bring to the Kansas City Chiefs, he is not as heavy-footed as Kareem Hunt, for good and bad. In Kareem's heyday, you would watch him running away from people and think, that guy is so slow. How is he losing NFL defensive backs in the dust? How is he doing it? What am I missing here? Is this a time warp? Is this the Matrix? Like, what is going on the field? That's not Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce looks faster than his 40. He gets on these breakaway runs, and people just don't catch him. He looks faster than a 4.59. Kareem Hunt was the opposite. Kareem Hunt will absolutely 100% fall forward. He's getting you those 2 yards simply because he fell forward. I don't know how he does it. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know how it happens, but he does that. No one's putting Kareem Hunt on his back. Dameon Pierce will end up getting pushed back sometimes. However, the reason I make this direct comparison between those 2 running backs is this. When you watch them navigate the offensive line and work their way to the linebacker level, when Dameon Pierce is on, when Dameon Pierce is looking good, you would swear it was Kareem Hunt in the Texans jersey. It's the same stop, go. It's the same, well, screw it, I'll put my face mask in his chest. All of it. Directly the same. Exactly the same. The one thing is, like I said, Kareem Hunt will always fall forward. Dameon Pierce has something that Kareem Hunt does not have as well. Dameon Pierce has a sidestep that he can throw in there and wiggle around a little bit more than Kareem Hunt. Kareem had that a little bit earlier in his career, but I would still say that on a one-for-one basis, Dameon Pierce has that above Kareem Hunt. So I think that the comparison between the 2 running backs is apt. And if the Chiefs can do anything, now, the Chiefs have had a few running backs that had that comparison in the past, and they weren't able to make it work. Can they make it work with Dameon Pierce? What else he brings to the table is that he is a kick return threat. In 2023, you had him with 7 returns, 225 yards, and a touchdown. A 98-yard long there, that touchdown. That is a 32.1 yard per return average. In 2024, 9 returns, he stepped it up just a little bit more, for 339 yards. That is a 37.7 yard average, an 80-yard long there. This season, 4 returns, 92 yards, just a 23-yard per return average there. I don't know what's going on this year with Dameon Pierce and the Texans. Whatever it is, we can just assume that bygones are bygones. He is going to be a Kansas City Chief now, and they will assess that as necessary. Moving forward, because I do want to talk a little bit about what this might mean for the Kansas City Chiefs outside of this season. For this season, it's possible he finds his way on the roster. So I don't know at whose expense. Obviously, right now, it would be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who averages, I don't know. So he wears 26 now. He averages 2.6 yards per carry. I don't know why the Chiefs needed to rehash that move. I don't know why they needed a second scoop of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And I was a Clyde supporter. Don't forget that. But when I'm wrong, and I can admit it. If he ends up on the roster this year, it will be in the Clyde Edwards-Helaire role. I don't know, guys. I just don't, because the Jekyll and Hyde that you have had from Dameon Pierce's productivity is extreme. And it could be that he can return to 2022 form. And if he does, he might start for the Chiefs this season. The hard thing's going to be the playbook, obviously. But he's in his 4th year in the NFL, so hopefully he has the pass blocking down. If he does have that, Andy Reid will trust him on the field. And you could see a different person taking snaps at running back this year, which is a little bit frustrating because Brashard Smith still isn't playing all that much, and I would love to see Brashard Smith on the field. I'm assuming that what that is you cannot necessarily trust him in the pass blocking department. Moving forward, however, Isaiah Pacheco was on the last year of his rookie deal. I kind of see zero reason to believe that he will be a Kansas City Chief next season. The move, when you start to think about what the Chiefs' running back position looks like next year, it's Brashard Smith right now. I think Elijah Mitchell signed a 2-year deal, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I should have looked into that before this, but so what? He hasn't done anything this year, so I don't see any reason to believe that he will be back for the Chiefs next season. The thing with Dameon Pierce is that he could be next season's Isaiah Pacheco. You could have next season's bell cow back on the roster now. If it's possible Kareem Hunt comes back. He has been good at being what Kareem Hunt was supposed to be for this offense. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't come back. Brashard Smith and Dameon Pierce, if Dameon Pierce is 2022, Dameon Pierce, gives you the Isaiah Pacheco, Jerick McKinnon tandem that was able to spice things up a few times in years past. So hopefully that's the way this works out. There is potential that's the way this works out. There's also potential that Dameon Pierce never plays an actual snap for the Kansas City Chiefs. So I would suggest that maybe he's next year's Isaiah Pacheco. Maybe he's next year's Kareem Hunt. Either way, the Chiefs have won with this move because they have sacrificed absolutely nothing to get him. The Texans, the Texans were apparently trying to trade him prior to the trade deadline. That just tells you almost everything you need to know about the value of running backs in the NFL. This is a guy who is just a couple years removed from nearly a 1,000-yard season and had kick return capabilities. So take that for what it's worth. Anyway, guys, that's what I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.